Stable as the sea. The events that have characterized the Nigerian business scene have shaped the lives of millions. From changing governmental policies to mergers and acquisitions, international fundings, the rise of tech unicorns, the fluctuating forex market, rising inflations, the mystery of funds eaten by termites, amongst others. These stories have set the agenda for our lives as a nation. Today, we celebrate the men and women who have made it their life's work to objectively report the happenings in the Nigerian business scene. Some go beyond their call of duty to uncover stories unknown to many. Welcome to the PwC Media Awards 2022, where we celebrate those who have distinguished themselves as the best business reporters of the year. Anchoring today is Delia Asuzo. Sit back and have a great evening.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and a very, very warm welcome to you all. We're very pleased once again to host you at our 2022 Media Excellence Awards. You might say that this is our media week, because I know that some of you certainly joined us, on Friday at the capability workshop. So we're very pleased once again to host you. And we hope that you will have a good evening. But before we start that, let me quickly say that this session is being recorded and you're going to be muted. But please, during the awards show, please feel free to make comments. If some of your colleagues who will be receiving awards, you can use the chat box to make your comments and to appreciate what's going on in the proceedings today. So on that note, we will let the show begin, and we're going to have a rendition of the national anthem. So please sit back.
Arise, O compatriot, Nigeria's call, obey, to serve our fatherland with love and strength and faith. The labor of our heroes past shall never be in vain. To serve with heart and mind, one nation bound in freedom, peace and unity.
Thank you very much. That was the national anthem, and I think quite a great rendition. Without further ado, we'll go to the recognition of our guests. I would like to recognize some of the PwC leaders and our judges who are here today. Some of them are not here, but they have all taken time out of their very busy schedules to support us on this program. I'd like to mention Taiwo Buyedele, our Chief Judge for today. I would also like to mention Andrew Nevin, our Chief Economist, both of whom have supported this program right from the inception. I would also like to acknowledge Obioma Uba, our very dynamic corporate responsibility leader. And I will also, of course, mention Uyi Apata, our country's senior partner who's always supportive of our programs, and you'll be hearing from him a bit later. I would also like to say a big thank you and a warm welcome to our judges for today. Our judges are Amaka Anku. She is the practice head for Africa at the Eurasia Group. You're welcome. We also have one of our judges, Cyril Stober, veteran journalist, and I wish you a very warm welcome as well. So a very welcome to you all, and thank you all for joining us today. I would now like us to listen to our country senior partner. Unfortunately, he's unable to make it today, but we have a pre-recorded video. So please welcome Uyi Agbata, our country and regional senior partner. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us today at this 7th edition of our Media Excellence Awards to recognize and celebrate the best business writing and reporting out of Nigeria. For about 9 years now, PwC Nigeria has focused attention and resources on enhancing the quality of media reporting in Nigeria as part of our corporate responsibility strategy. We started with the annual capability enhancement workshops for journalists, which has trained over 500 journalists in the last 9 years. And then we introduced the Media Excellence Awards as a platform to reward those who produce exceptional reports across all platforms in our 4 categories. Our efforts in this regard is in recognition of the very, very important role the media plays in society, especially in deepening democracy and developing all facets of our national life. Beyond just giving out the cash prizes to the winners, I'm certain you like that a lot, we hope that this award continues to motivate journalists working in Nigeria to take greater interest in business reporting, which is key to the economic development of our country, and aim for excellence whilst at it. When we are able to achieve this, we would have fulfilled our purpose as a firm, which is to build trust in society and solve important problems. I thank all the journalists who sent in entries for the award, and our panel of judges for taking time off their busy schedule to read, watch, and grade the entries. I also thank all those who have worked hard to make tonight possible. Congratulations in advance to all winners tonight. Do have a very, very exciting evening. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Uyi. We miss you, but thank you for that video. I would now like to introduce our new education video. Last year, our global strategy was launched, and some of you may have been with us at the media launch in South Africa. This launch was really as a result of some of the developments that had happened in the previous years. It's more as a reaction of some of those, the things that had happened. And we saw that we operate in a multi-stakeholder environment. So some of the fundamental changes that had happened made us realize that we need to speak more to our clients. And what our clients were telling us was that we need to help them to build trust. And so this is essentially what enables us to do what we do and how we do it. And so I would argue that trust is also something that the journalists also need to do. This is one of the things that we also expect that you to build trust in society as well. And so through our people, and using technology as well. These are some of the things we do. And our video, we'll watch a short video in a few minutes, which will just tell you a little bit of the story around our new equation. So please, let's listen to that video.
We're taught that 1 + 1 = 2, that there are 26 letters in the alphabet, that there are 4 sides to a square. Simple, right? But today's world isn't simple. So what happens if we look at it from a new angle? Could we make something greater? If we bring together human ingenuity, passion, and dexterity, propelled by the latest technology, we start to make something more. Something we can see in people's lives and feel in the world around them. Building trust for today and tomorrow. And that's the thing. We all know the math, but we need a new way to put it together. Which means we don't just find answers, we never stop looking for them. A passionate community of solvers coming together in unexpected ways, creating new solutions for a new day, building trust for a better tomorrow. That's the new equation.
And that is our new equation strategy. I would now like to invite our head judge, Mr. Taiwo Oyedele. Taiwo is very well known to a lot of you. He's our fiscal policy partner and West Africa tax leader. So he's now going to take us through the proceedings for the day. Over to you, Taiwo.
Thank you very much, Delia, and welcome to everyone once again. Like we said in his opening remarks, these Media Excellence Awards by PwC complements our Media Capacity Workshop and is designed to celebrate and reward excellence in reporting in Nigeria. So well done to all the journalists. We appreciate what you do. It's a job that most times you're not appreciated enough, despite the critical role that you play in society. So for us at PwC, we don't have a lot of money to give. Actually, we don't have money to give at all. These are only two ways of appreciating the work that you do. At least something will remind you that some people somewhere are paying attention to your work, and that can motivate you to do even more. So we acknowledge your role as being indispensable, and like we said during the workshop, for those who were able to attend, your role is even more important now, leading to the elections in 2023, because that can make a whole lot of difference in terms of the choices that people would make. So as at PwC, we believe that with the little contribution we're making, we're helping to raise the standard in journalism and therefore solving an important problem in society in line with our purpose. Just to give an overview, for this 2022, we received, for the awards, we received 221 valid entries, and this is more than the 188 we received last year. So we've seen progressively more interest in this effort and the initiative by PwC. And by the way, the 221 are the valid entries. So you can imagine that we even had more entries than that. These 221 valid entries cut across different platforms and channels, including print, digital channels, TV, and radio. And in terms of the categories, you will recall that we have 4 categories. Business and economic reporting, it's usually the most keenly contested of all the 4 categories. We received 98 valid entries for business and economy reporting. Then followed by SME reporting, we received 53. Then followed by finance and capital markets, we received 40. And for tax and fiscal policy, we received 30. Now, in terms of the entry rules, for submissions to be made, for them to be valid, to proceed into the judging process, all entries were required to be in line with the following terms and conditions. So I'll read them out. 1, the journalist must be a full-time professional journalist or freelancer working in Nigeria. So we're not, we appreciate journalism across the world, but our primary focus is Nigeria. Number 2, the story must fall within the categories covered by the award and available on a platform whose primary audience is Nigeria. Okay. Number 3, a report can only be submitted in one category. So you cannot write an excellent report on tax and then submit it into 2 categories. You can only put it in one category. Entries are for reports made within 1 year preceding the date of submission. So when we put out the publication, both in the newspapers and on social media accounts, we indicated that you could submit your work that you had done 1 year before the date of submission. So that's because we do this every year. We don't want people bringing something they did like 2-3 years ago. Another condition is that entries must be in English language for very obvious reasons. There is no entry fee, so you didn't have to pay to submit your entries. That would be inappropriate. Entries must be entries must be the original work of the journalist. So of course, this should be taken for granted as a given, but for sake of clarity, we have to document that. You couldn't take someone else's work and submit it as yours. Employees of PwC and their immediate family members are not eligible. So in case we are not aware, and you're on this call and you're an immediate family member of a PwC staff, so please you need to let us know, because you're not eligible to contest. We don't want to set up a PwC Media Excellence Award and then start awarding it to ourselves. Now, I'll quickly talk about the screening process. So the first level review was done as soon as the date at the end of when the entry is closed. The first level screening review was done to identify the valid entries, following the conditions I just reeled out earlier on. Then that moves on to the second level. The second level review was done by our PwC media team to shortlist the top 50 entries across all 4 categories. So we then reduced from 221 to 50. Now these 50 entries move on to the third level review by PwC subject matter experts to identify the top 5 entries per category. So that means we ended up reducing 50 to 20. Now, these 20 entries, 5 per category, went to the next stage, which is the final review by the jury of 4 judges. So independently, so the way we do this is to allow individual judges to do their work independently. So you are not influenced by the thinking of another person. So the judges did their work independently and scored the 5 entries based on predetermined award criteria, which I'll get to in a moment, and then send their scores back to PwC. And then we then collated and ranked the entries, the top 20, based on their aggregate average score. So if one judge gave you 72, one gave you 78, one 80, and the other one 60, we added all the scores together and we divided by 4. and that gave us the aggregate average score. Now, this aggregate average score is used to do the ranking as to, of course, the highest score will be number 1, number 2 follows, number 3, 4, and 5. Where there's a tie, and we indeed had a situation like that this time around, when there's a tie, the score of the expert judge was used as a tiebreaker. So clearly, if we have a tie on tax reporting, of the 4 judges, I will be the expert judge, given that tax is what I do on a day-to-day basis. So if my score was higher for one of the 2 persons, which is maybe likely, then that person emerges as the top number, and then the other person comes next. So this could have been, you can have a tie at number 1, you can have a tie at number 2, 3, and 4. It's only 5 where you cannot have a tie because there are 5 top entries. Now, once we did that, we identify, first, second, and third positions. Because we have 4 categories, that makes 12. But the other top 20 entries, we thought it's important to recognize them and appreciate them, because making it to the top 20 in itself, it's tough. It's tough. We have to be honest with you. This is a very rigorous process that we go through. So we therefore decided that there will be 8 consolation prizes for the other top 20 entries. So top 12 we get first and second, third awards, and then the other 8 will get consolation prizes. Now, here are the award criteria. So each of the entry is assessed and evaluated against 5 criteria. Number 1, quality of research and insights. So by reading the work you've done, by watching them, by listening to them, we can tell the quality of the research and the insights that you provide. That's 20% of the score. Number 2 is whether your report is balanced and unbiased. So are your analysis balanced? For experts in the areas where you report, they can tell when they believe that you are not being objective in your analysis. It is not just about speaking to everyone. So some journalists think that to be balanced, you speak to governments, you speak to the private sector, you speak to the man on the street, and then you're balanced. You can do all of that and still be biased, because you can choose who to speak to and how to tell the story even after speaking to them. And sometimes, and this happens to all of us as human beings, you hear what you want to hear and not necessarily what is being said. One way of ensuring objectivity is to always keep an open mind, don't make any assumptions, and just listen to what is being said. So balanced and unbiased analysis is the second condition, and it is 30%. Number 3 is creativity and originality of content. That carries 15%. And creativity and originality is not just about collating people's views, right? You can't just, the World Bank said, and the IMF also said, and then the Bureau of Statistics said, and then you now put it together. You are unlikely to score very high on originality if you do that. Originality means either you are thinking about something that, not many people have thought about. It could be that you are bringing out insight. It could be in the style of writing, or the style of, the report. It may not be a written one. It could be a video. It could be audio. But the creativity, because you may have an excellent message to pass across. If you don't pass it across in a way that is interesting, then you don't attract the audience that you want. What's the point of having such an excellent report that nobody reads, right? So creativity and originality of content is 15%. Number 4 is relevance and impact. And that is self-explanatory. That is 15%. So clearly, if you write about an issue that is relevant to all of us and it impacts society, you are likely to score more than writing about something that is completely irrelevant. Number 5 is grammar and language skill. Okay, so many of us, even though we're not journalists, we can always tell that when we read, some that they get the message across very effectively, and some maybe less so. So grammar and language skill is 20%. Now, when you put all of these scores together across the five criteria, it will give you 100%. Of course, it's very unlikely that anyone will get 100%. So whatever percentages the judges give in terms of the scores, we analyze, we rank, and then we use that to determine the ranking. Okay, so on a lighter note, like I always say every year, the decision of the judges are final. So you cannot appeal this one. So it's not like the election tribunal where you go to INEC and you go to court of appeal, okay? The decision of the judges are final. We will share the top entries subsequently on our social media platform, and I think even also on our website. So I would encourage everyone, including those who wrote those articles, right? Just go and appreciate your own work. Once again, it's also our way of trying to promote what you have done. One thing I have learned and I've really enjoyed doing this work over a few years now that we have been doing these awardees, even though I would easily consider myself in the very top percentage of Nigerians who read. I actually read a lot. I read so many articles in one day. Yet, every single time that we go through this process, I still find there were so many things that I missed. And this forces me to read a lot. And for me, I really always just to appreciate it. To see that we have journalists who are doing so much work, excellent reporting, despite the very difficult circumstances in which they find themselves. So it's really commendable. We can't say it too much. Okay. Now, for the awards, in terms of the cash prize, for the first place in all the 4 categories, each person who comes first will get 500,000 naira. The second place will get 150,000 naira. The third place will get 50,000 naira. And somebody said, I think it was last year, the person said, well, PwC, you guys need to adjust this award for inflation. So yeah, we're thinking about that. So maybe by next year, we might be able to adjust for inflation. But again, like we said, this is not to say this is the worth of the work you have done. It's just a token to say we do appreciate you. For the consolation prizes, each of the other candidates or the entries will get 20,000 naira each. So those are the categories that we have and the associated cash prizes. Great. Now, we will move on to the feedback from judges. And before I get into that, I just want to make a special mention of Cyrus Toba, our very iconic Cyrus Toba. When I was growing up as a young boy in the village, I was always, I think it was because of my dad, I was always ready for the 9 p.m. news. And I admired Cyrus Toba from when I was a young boy. And recently, he moderated a session organized by ACCA. It's an African event where I was invited to speak. So I was so happy when I logged in and I saw him. And then we connected after the event. And then he invited me and interviewed me on his program on NTA. You know, I do like hundreds of TV and media interviews. But that was special for me. So I posted it on all my social media pages and I said, well, I got interviewed by Cyrus Toba. So as we're planning for this event for this year, I just said, let me try my luck. And he just said yes. Initially, he missed my message and then reached out to me to say, well, I missed your message. Is it still okay? And I need to mention to everyone on this call, our judges do this absolutely for free. And to review these entries take long hours and hours. So we can't pay them. So we are really very grateful and we appreciate you and may God bless you abundantly. I need to also appreciate Amaka, my friend, based in the US, and she's going to try and join us. And as soon as she's able to join us, we'll give her the virtual platform to provide her feedback. So I will start. with my own feedback, and then we'll move on to my colleague at PwC, our chief economist, Andrew. Andrew has done this for many years, and I kept saying to myself, I said, after Andrew retires, we will not let him go. Andrew, we're going to be coming back to you after your retirement to keep doing this. He does it so well as one of our judges. He's done it for so many years. So in terms of my feedback, I find the work extremely impressive. Of course, some more impressive than others, especially when I see the report where the journalist has gone beyond the call of duty, even in dangerous circumstances, just to bring out the truth for people to appreciate it. It's hard to do this job anywhere in the world. It is twice as hard to do it in Nigeria, not only because the environment and the circumstances can sometimes be difficult and dangerous. It is also because when you are done, it doesn't seem like people really pay attention to it, right? Imagine you give up everything, you take all the risk, and you produce a report and everybody appreciates you. That in itself is a consolation. You finish everything in Nigeria, your life is at risk sometimes, depending on what you have investigated, and you find a couple of hundreds of people would read. Maybe government would do nothing about it. Makes it twice as hard. Many of the entries were, however, news materials and interviews. Like this happened yesterday. You tell people news is very important, but it's unlikely that you'll be able to emerge as a winner if all you did was to tell people what happened, right? There's a place for the news, and there's also a place for a more in-depth reporting. To win, you always have to remember you must write professionally. You cannot use SMS languages. You cannot use slangs unless you are referring to the slang within a context, right? And then always provide in-depth analysis and insights. Let it be balanced, do a detailed research, and don't just produce data that is readily available. If I put something on Google now, and I just say inflation rate in Nigeria, it takes me less than one minute to see the inflation rate in Nigeria. So if all you are telling me in your report is the inflation rate, you have not added any value to me. But if you then go ahead and do some analysis of why inflation is rising, what we can do about it, what history tells us about inflation, what's happening elsewhere, how does it affect various stakeholders from small businesses to large businesses to households, you would have added value. And therefore, your chances of scoring high would improve. One thing I have to say, this next feedback is personal to me. So if you don't buy into it, you can delete it. That is that personally, I like reports that get straight to the point. So if you can do a report and tell me in 2 pages, why do you do it in 10 pages? Because I like to get the point quickly and move on to the next thing. I do admit that the education system tends to train us otherwise. So they want you to do theses and write research reports, and they want it to run into tens of pages. But when you find yourself in real life, you find that the decision makers don't have the time to read long reports. I have been involved in policy in Nigeria now for many years. And one of the lessons I have learned is if you really want the people that matter to read what you are writing, keep it to a page. If you are stressing it, let it be 2 pages. So anytime I'm trying to write something out to the presidency, to a minister, to a governor, I try to keep it to a page. I will have the detailed report because you might have the technical people who want to analyze and read everything, but I still want that decision maker to read what I have to say. So I have, some templates. It's just 1 page. And in that 1 page, I've said a lot. So I want to encourage our journalists, as much as you can, and as much as possible, try and be as concise when doing your reports. Cut out the excessive details, get to the point as quickly as possible. Attention span for everyone is shorter than it used to be. The next one is that good titles help. So always make sure that your titles are captivating enough, but don't unnecessarily sensationalize your head in because you also don't want to lose trust. And I don't want to make any examples here. I've granted some interviews to some of the media houses, and when I saw their publications, I was disappointed myself because the title wasn't a true reflection of the conversation I had with them. But it was good for them to sell the newspaper, right? But that for me was not good enough. So let's think about trust. It's very important while we're trying to put our titles together. So overall, I think that the work done by journalists was impressive. We've seen consistent improvement in many of the categories like taxation and fiscal reporting, and we like this trend to continue. I'd like to say that for the business reporting, that's the category on business and economy reporting. We will consider breaking that into two categories from next year, such that investigative reports and special reports will be a different category. Because my observation is it's almost difficult, if not impossible, for you to with people who have done investigative reporting, where they've spent some time and they have a lot of insights to provide. So this has been the trend over time, that for this particular category, the top entries are usually special reports and investigative reports. So we're going to create a special category for them next year, so that business and economy reporting would also be able to bring up more journalists to win some of these prizes. I know I have said a lot, so I'm going to now invite our judges to give their comments in about 3 to 5 minutes. First, I'll start with Andrew Nevy, who is our chief economist. So Andrew, over to you with your feedback.
Well, thank you so much, Taiwo, and thank you to Cyril and Amaka, my co-judges on this, for giving their time and expertise to this. And thank you so much, Delia, Taiwo, and I have been doing this since the inception, I think 5 years now, 6 years now, maybe longer. I've lost track of time, but it's always been a real honor for me to be a part of it. But let me say a few words about this year's entries. I mean, I really think that the quality continues to improve. I think the efforts, as Taiwo says, of the fourth estate, all your efforts, sometimes in dangerous circumstances, are certainly by me very much appreciated. And I can't thank you enough for what you're trying to do, what you're doing for the nation. I know we worry about I'm sure you worry whether you're having an impact. I actually think you are. I think you're making a big positive difference to the nation when you do this kind of excellent business reporting. And please keep the courage and the faith on that. I was very heartened this year to see improvements in a few areas. I mean, let me just start by saying, just looking at my notes here, I really feel like the writing has improved over the years. When I look at the scores, and most articles, if I go back maybe 4 or 5 years ago, sometimes some of the articles would come through to the finals and the writing would not really be as good as we would want on that. But I think this year, I'm not sure there was a single article that really wasn't written very, very well. It's the attention to language, the attention to grammar, but also try to make it interesting. And I think things have got also a little bit punchier. Some of the ways that you might have been taught to write in school are starting to dissipate. So thank you for that. The other thing that really impressed me this year was the relevance. So that's one of the categories that we have. Is it something that is important and relevant for the nation? And I think every single entry that I saw this year, I was really gripped by, because it was an important subject for us. I won't name individual articles here. We'll be giving the awards in a minute, but every single one was of great interest to me. And I think people are doing an excellent job of focusing on the big issues in the nation. The other thing I think that is really improved over the years, and I think almost every article did a good job on this, was linking the big picture with the details. So, I mean, most of the articles start with that journalistic style where you have the details at the beginning, and then sometimes in the past, people that didn't get to the big picture on it. This time I observed most of the articles in the finals, I think, did a very good job. They'd often, some cases, they'd start with the big picture, but in almost all cases, there was an attempt to link the big picture to to the details of that. And I think that's very important for the journalist, because you can tell an individual story, but what does it mean in its overall context? So thank you for that. And the final thing I'll just say is, for me, what's very important when I read the media or listen to the media is the human aspect of it. And so many of the articles, I think, did a very good job of really telling the human story about it. People's struggles around the nation in different areas. And of course, I think it's very good to see that there's so much that's not just in the Abuja, Lagos bubble, that people really made an attempt to embrace the whole nation in this year's entries. But telling those human stories is really gripping for me. And I think that almost all the articles did a very good job of that. So it's really heartening to see this improvement in the quality over the years. I know the effort that you all put in. I know in some cases you're putting yourself in dangerous situations. I know, as Taiwo says, sometimes you might not feel appreciated, but certainly from my perspective, I really think that you're doing the very best job you can. And please keep the faith. You're making a difference to Nigeria. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Andrew, for that feedback. Very well appreciated. Amaka Anko should give the next feedback, but Amaka said to us that she may not be able to join until 5 p.m. So we'll put that on hold, and hopefully we're able to get her to join us before we wrap up today. I'll therefore move on to Mr. Sirius Soba. Please give us your feedback.
All right. Thank you very much. I want to believe that you can hear me.
Yes.
Right. Thank you so much. It was a privilege, a pleasurable one at that, to have been asked to be one of the judges. I may have very little to say about the improvement because it's my first time of being involved in this effort. But I'd just like to quickly say that it was a very good experience for me. I saw the effort and put into those articles. And let me start by commending all those who sent in entries, especially for those who did investigative reports. We're very short in that in journalism circles in Nigeria, and for very obvious reasons. It was Mr. Oyedele who said it's tough being a journalist all over the world, and it's twice as much in Nigeria. I'd like to say 3 times harder to be a journalist in these climes. And so for those who do investigative reports, special mention must be made and commendation must be given to them, because it's not easy. We are in a society that is closed, really, really closed for so many factors, cultural, religious. These are issues. And to do one investigative report requires a huge effort, and we're not even talking about the financial implications here. So for those who do it, I commend them. And so for all the entries I went through as a judge, I appreciated the effort that went into putting those articles together. Now, on the other hand, judging materials can be extremely difficult. It requires you to bring in all you have, knowing what it takes to produce such reports. We have produced reports like that in the past, so we know the effort that goes into it. And one or two of the criteria I would like to comment on. The question of objectivity and unbiased analysis sometimes can be tough. As you well know, there are some people who say the very concept of objectivity itself is subjective, because you are who you are by virtue of your background and your training. And so they like to disagree with what you might call objective. But then when it comes to the use of language, I find that also commendable. The journalists, the entries try to put in as much as possible, the skill of communicating The whole essence of journalistic work is communication, and there's actually no point in putting something together that people cannot read, understand, or listen to and understand. And so it calls on the journalists to put in their best. I find this particularly good in the matter of taxation, fiscal policy reports, and things to do with business. These are areas where you have some very technical terms. And for journalists in those areas to be able to write and put these views across so that the ordinary folks like me and millions of others can read, understand, and take home something from those reports. So they did well. The scores in allotting scores was another challenge too. And I found that I had to read some of those articles 4 or 5 times over. Having put in a score, I'd go back and go through again and say, well, something has to change. So for the judge that I was, it was also a learning experience for me too. And I just like to commend all those who took part. And for the organizers, it's fantastic. Around here, there are not too many opportunities like this for professional journalists. And for most times, journalists don't get commended for anything they do. And so when we find an organization like this that invests in this kind of competition, we want to say thank you on behalf of all the journalists. And we'd like to see more corporate bodies take this up. And I think I join in those who appealed to PwC to take a second look at the prize money. It's not all about the money, but again, Mr. Oyedele being a tax consultant will know more about the power of money. So all in all, I think it was a wonderful experience, and I'd like to congratulate all those who made it to the top 20. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Stoba. We appreciate the feedback, and we'll take those comments on board. And I'm sure for the journalists, they appreciate your feedback as well, because your feedback is to be taken very seriously. If you've been in this business for 4 decades, I must be in primary school when you started. So thank you very much. We do appreciate you, sir. So I will move on now to the next item on our agenda, which is, this is the point where we move on to the awards announcements. First, we're going to start with 2 categories, and then we take an interlude, and then we come back to announce the remaining 2 categories. So the category we're starting with is finance and capital market reporting. As usual, I would read, I will say the top 5 entries, tell you who the journalist is that submitted the entry, the title of the entry, the media or the publisher or the media organization that they work for, and then a brief synopsis. So come with me in no particular order. The top 5 entries for finance and capital markets are Helen Orji from The Guardian, and the title is Auto Firm Stocks Crash as Nigerians Spend 4 trillion on Tokumbo in 10 years. And these reports look at how worsening foreign exchange scarcity in the country, coupled with an unfavorable operating environment, weakened purchasing power, and low demand of locally assembled vehicles have inflicted a toll on the automobile subsector, as Nigerians expended over 4.12 trillion naira on the importation of used vehicles in the past 10 years. The downturn has caused the profits of the industry's listed equities to remain stagnated at nominal value over the years, following negative sentiments that have stunted demand for their stocks. Another entry is by Samuel Nwigwe Diala of The Wheel, Nigeria. The title of the entry is Time to Deconstruct the Raging Bull. And the report x-rays how Nigeria's equities market hit over 29 trillion naira capitalization, the highest in 61 years, amid economic downturn and the implications. Another entry is by AGK Kanife, The Wheel, Nigeria. The title is an investigative report. The title is Bank Staff Colluding with POS Operators to Rip Off Nigerians. The report looks at the fact that many Nigerians, especially those living in lower income areas, have complained bitterly about the endemic unavailability of cash at bank ATMs. And there have been allegations that bank staff collude with point of sales, that's POS operators, to compromise these machines and force customers to patronize them instead. A letter to this effect was, in fact, a public letter was written by a community in Oguashi Uku in Delta State. They wrote an open letter to this effect. The report also highlighted the shortcomings of the banks and how agency banking, which is supposed to help bank the unbanked, has become mostly focused on banking the already banked. Okay, so another entry is by Isaac Anyango of Business Day. The title of the entry is Nigeria's Green Bond is Driving a Quiet Boom. 5 months after a 2 megawatt solar energy project at the Nnamdi Azikiwe University, funded by Nigeria's first green bond, became operational, electricity bills have fallen by 90%. Learning outcomes are improving, and a real estate boom is set to dawn in Oka. And that's the synopsis for that entry. Last but not the least, is an entry by Ronald Adamolekun of Premium Times. The title of the entry is How Lax Regulations Allow Firms Manipulate Nigeria's Stock Market. The report is an expose on how some corporations listed on the Nigerian exchange take shelter behind a lax rule to perpetrate share manipulation and other related abuse. Regulators seem to aid a trend that not only erode minority shareholders' rights, but makes it possible to manipulate the market. So as you will see on the screen, these are the top 5 entries for the finance and capital markets category. So I think now we can move on to review the ranking. Okay. So, right. So in third place is Samuel Nwigwe Diala of The Wheel. Congratulations. So next is second place. I see that has been revealed. So in second place is Ronald Adamolekun of Premium Times. Congratulations. And the winner is Isaac Anyango of Business Day with the entry Nigeria's Green Bond is Driving a Quiet Boom. Congratulations to all our winners. And to be honest, all of you are winners. Congrats to the top 3 winners. Yes, I can see virtual clapping there. Congrats to them. So we move on to the next category, which is tax and fiscal policy reporting. Again, I'll quickly go through the top 5 entries in no particular order. One is an entry by Collins Uweze, The Nation. And the title is Taking Tax War to Doorstep of Global Tech Giants. The reporter believes that Nigeria has a revenue problem, not a debt problem. The low revenue base for the economy got so bad that the country is now earning less than what it costs to service its debt. In the face of this challenge is a gold mine that's likely on tap, Nigeria's digital economy, which stood at 88 billion US dollars by the end of 2021 and is likely untapped. Already, the FRS is taking major steps to tax online transactions, but existing laws have to be adjusted to achieve the desired result. Another entry is by Tunde Ajaja of The Punch, titled Legal Battle over VAT Collection Starts Debates on Equity, Fiscal Federalism, and is in part 1 and 2. The first part of the story focuses on the merits and demerits of the court order that states that states and not federal government should be collecting VAT. While the second part looks at the impact of the delay in justice delivery in tax administration and the danger such delay portends for taxation and the economy. Another entry is by Oladeyinde Olawonyi of Premium Times, titled Inside Governor Dapo Abiodun's Secret Business and Foreign Accounts. The story was an expose on Ogun State Governor Dapo Abiodun's foreign accounts ownership, offshore structure in a tax haven, and secrecy enabling jurisdiction, among other activities. The story, part of a global investigation, detailed how the governor hired Dubai-based SFM Corporate Services for advice and execution. Upon publication, the governor, through an associate, said that he ordered the closure of the account and claimed that he was unaware of the existence of such accounts until the story was published. Another entry in the top 5 for this category is by Sulaiman Olukayode Olarewaju of Nigerian Tribune, titled States, Local Governments Lose Billions of Naira to Federal Government's Road Infrastructure Tax Credit Scheme. This report examines the constitutionality of the Road Infrastructure Tax Credit Scheme introduced by the federal government, where companies can construct road in exchange for tax credit. Given that companies' income tax is jointly owned by the 3 tiers of government, based on the current sharing formula, the federal government shares 52.68%, the 36 states have 26.72%, while the 774 local government councils take 20.60%. So this story looks at how the implementation of this scheme impacts both the states and local government councils financially. Last but not the least is the entry by Olarewaju Oyedeji of DataFight. Title is Nigeria Laments Low Tax Income. Has it considered changing demographics of taxpayers? The report examines the Nigerian tax mobilization challenge, issues that may be affecting revenue generation through tax in the country, the role of data, and the way forward to address the challenges. So these are the top 5 entries for the taxation and fiscal policy reporting category. Now, let's reveal our top 3. With the reports Inside Governor Dapo Abiodun's Secret Businesses and Foreign Accounts. Congratulations, Oladeyinde. In second place, we have Collins Nweze of The Nation, taking tax war to doorsteps of global tech giants. Congratulations, Collins. And the winner is Tunde Ajaja of Punch with the article Legal battle over VAT collection starts debates on equity, fiscal federalism, and is in part 1 and part 2. Congratulations to all 3 of you. Very well done. I think now, yeah, feel free to give them virtual claps. Now we are going to take a testimonial video, I believe. I would invite the host, Abraham, so please go ahead. I'll be back shortly.
My name is Sodna Kanodo. I won the task category of the PwC Media Excellence Award in 2020. I also finished as the second runner-up of the SME category. The story with which I won the PwC Media Excellence Award for the task category focused on how Lagos revenue goes into people's pockets. So private individuals were siphoning money belonging to the state government. And after exposing that, so many of them were sacked. It was a very dangerous story for me, because I noticed that my life was in danger. But I thank God that I got an award. I got a reward for that effort. And I look forward to winning more from the PwC. And I just want to say thank you very much to PwC for organizing this award. It has actually improved the quality of business and financial reporting in Nigeria. Thank you so much, PwC.
I have been fortunate to win the PwC Media Excellence Awards a couple of times, and it has provided me some sort of external validation for the purposeful business journalism my colleagues and I strive to do at Business Day. The cash prizes have helped to meet some important needs, but ultimately it has shown me what kind of stories matter and how to tell it to a broad audience. Winning the highly competitive award has earned me the confidence of my editors, as well as the respect of my colleagues, and has inspired me to want to assist others so this success can be a shared one. So thank you, PwC, for supporting Nigerian journalism.
All right. Thank you very much for that video, and thank you for the journalists who have won the awards in the past, sharing those comments. We do appreciate all of you. So we're going to move on now to the last 2 categories. And the next one is SMEs reporting. We all acknowledge and recognize the role that small businesses play in society, and then having to cover them and amplify their stories, tell the issues that they are dealing with and the pain points and how we can help them to help ourselves is extremely important. So in this category, again, we have the top 5 entries, which I'm going to reveal now. Again, in no particular order. One is the entry by Arinze Chijoke, and it's of Prime Progress, and it's titled, "He Made Lowly Esteemed Wheelbarrow Pushing Look Attractive, How He Creates Jobs for Youths." The story: look at how a young Nigerian used his initiative to create jobs for youths and earn money for himself by turning the lowly esteemed wheelbarrow business into a huge profit-making venture. He made it attractive and professional by providing customized shirts for those who were working under him. As they earned daily, he got paid too. He was only 20 rather when he started the business venture, and today he has been able to build other ventures from that small business, while some of those who worked under him have gone on to establish other businesses. So talk about small beginnings. Congratulations, Arinze. Next, we have the entry by Olufunke Fayemi. I like this one because it was an audio. So because we always have print dominating these awards. So this was Olufunke Fayemi of Voice of Nigeria with an entry titled "Women Fish Farmers in Makoko." Makoko is a slum riverine area of Lagos. This area is dominated by women fish farmers who have small-scale enterprises and are faced with various challenges of living and of doing business. Due to the nature of the business, there are many stakeholders involved across the value chain, from buying of fish to sorting them, processing them, and selling. To address climate change, a lot of sensitization at the grassroots is very important. Women in the fishing business in Makoko also opened up on the areas where government's intervention can turn around their businesses to support the economy. Thank you, Olufunke, for your entry. Next. Next, we have Miriam Abdullahi of The Cable with the story, Inside Story, How Women Are Tackling Poverty Through She Butter Business in Nigeria. The report explains how women and girls in rural community in north-central Nigeria defeated poverty when they discovered that a shea tree and started to extract the shea butter for shea nuts and then making different products out of these, out of it they used to be able to earn income and take care of their families. Next category. Oh, sorry, not next entry, I should say, is Olubenga Adanikin of ICIR with the entry titled Sabon Gari. Despite FG's multi-billion investment on solar projects, SMEs spend over 36 million naira yearly on generators. This was a three-part investigative piece. It unveiled how the renewable energy projects of the federal government through the Rural Electrification Agency failed to achieve its goal of supporting medium and small-scale enterprises in Nigeria's market cluster in Kano, Lagos, and Aria Market, Abia State. Hopefully I got that right. And there was a part 2 focus on government power project, fails to light Ikonri Market in Lagos, and part 3 focus on Aria Market, says that the failed power project forces Aba shoemakers to spend millions on powering generators. Last but not the least is the entry by Odinaka Anudu of ICIR, titled as Nigerian Government Slumbers, 144 billion Aba shoe industry crawls. The report focuses on the much talked about Aba leather industry, which is thriving in chaos. While the players are making efforts to drive the industry, infrastructures and policies are not helping them. Lack of funding, absence of good road networks, and shambolic physical outlook of the market make matters worse. Those are 5 top entries for this category of SME reporting. Now let us reveal our top 3 entries. In third place, Nigeria women farmers in Makoko. Congratulations, Olufunke. In second place, we have Olubenga Adanikin of ICIR with the entry titled Sabon Gari. Despite FG's multi-billion investment on solar projects, SMEs spend over 36 million yearly on generator. And the winner is Odinaka Anudu of ICIR with the entry as Nigeria government slumbers, 144 billion Aba shoe industry crawls. Congratulations to all our top 3 winners. We appreciate you. Yes, I can see the virtual claps are coming in. So we move on swiftly to the last category, the most keenly contested every single year. This is the most difficult one every single year. So, and it is business and economy reporting. I will read the top 5. We'll reveal now the top 5 entries Again, in no particular order. One is Kule Adebajo of the Humango Media. The entry is titled Banking Made Easy, but Not for People with Disabilities in West Africa. The report highlights the experiences of persons with disabilities in terms of accessing financial services in various cities in Nigeria and Ghana, including wheelchair users, persons who are blind, including those with albinism, and people with deafness. It emphasizes how banks, especially, are missing out on fully capturing the unbanked demographic of people with disabilities, just because of a lack of attention to the question of accessibility. Following the publication, there has been more advocacy for financial inclusion as it concerns people living with disabilities. The second entry is by Ibrahim Adeyemi of FIJ with an entry titled, it's an undercover story, Ondo Oshun Ekiti, inside kidnappers' dens, where victims are camped and ransoms are negotiated. For several years, road users and indigents of the Nigerian southwest states disappeared strangely on the region's highways. Their disappearances were a spillover of the kidnap for ransom scourge in the country's northwest and north central states. After 17 days of working undercover with local forces in the region, the reporter spotlighted the enclaves of the kidnappers and pointed to the government the direction in which they should look if they were indeed serious about ending the booming kidnapping business. I found that story really interesting, and we talk about the danger that is inherent in this profession. So again, we can't stop appreciating what you guys are doing. The third entry is by James Ojo of The Cable, also another undercover story titled Bribes, Cartel, and Conspiracy Inside Nigeria's booming petrol smuggling trade. The reporter led an investigation which exposed a black market of subsidies, one in which individuals smuggled thousands of gallons of fuel to Nigeria's neighboring countries in well-coordinated operations with support from security operatives, hurting Nigeria's already fragile economy in the process. Of course, you would know that this story is so relevant because we're dealing with these issues as we speak at the moment. So thank you, James, for that report. Next, we have an entry by Olarewaju Oyedeji of Datafight titled Notebook Gates. Is in part 1 and part 2. They're in 2 parts. It's an investigation into Oyo State's 998 million naira notebook production contract. The story exposed how the Oyo State government awarded contracts to companies owned by an individual and cronies in abuse of open contracting laws. Using social network analysis, the report also exposed how these persons are linked to the governor of the state. The report also revealed that the contracts were grossly inflated. Last but not the least, I see Amaka is on the call now. So once I'm done with this number 5, before we reveal the winners, we'll ask for Amaka to give a 3 to 5 minutes feedback. Last but not the least, in the top 5 is the entry by Arinze Chijoke of ICIR, titled, it's an investigative report titled Inside Enugu Immigration Office, Where Passport Racketeering Thrives. This investigation revealed how officers of Nigerian Immigration Service, Enugu State Command, have been involved in passport racketeering and extortion of Nigerians who want to get their passport for 4 months. This reporter monitored the process and discovered how applicants had to pay various amounts of money and go through significant stress to get their passport, despite the recently introduced online processing platform designed to ease the application and curb the associated corrupt practices. So, Amaka, welcome. We already said to our journalists on the call that you made a lot of sacrifice, spent loads of hours to review their entries, and did all of that for free. So, really appreciate you. And due to other commitment, you couldn't join at 4 o'clock. So, now that you're here, you have the virtual floor to give your back from looking at those entries in about 3 to 5 minutes. Over to you, Amaka.
Sure. So I'll be very quick. First, I want to thank you, Taiwo, and PwC and your colleagues for organizing this. I think it's extremely important, right? Media is one of the things that is necessary, just not both to inform the public, but also to keep government accountable and to give government ideas, right, about what they should be doing. So on that note, I'll say that, I think the ones that I enjoyed the most, particularly in Nigeria, where the media often tends to there's usually a tendency to play to the gallery or to have kind of one angle in everything. So the ones that I enjoyed the most were the ones that were different, brought a different and fresh, interesting take on an issue, original, and had a clear argument, a clear takeaway, right? So not just telling us or the reader, different quotes about what's happening, but making an argument, right? Using data from talking to different people. So there's a clear takeaway about this is how I should think about this going forward. I would always encourage using visualizations where you're talking about a lot of numbers or things that are complicated. But generally, I really enjoyed it. There was clearly a lot of talent here. And so congratulations to everybody who's won today.
Thank you. Very well said. Thank you very much, Amaka, for that feedback. And that's a very important point. And I think I'm personally biased a little bit in that sense. So when I see a graph, I just feel like it tells 1,000 stories rather than the long prose, long-winded, and others. So if you can, we know some people are more talented in doing it than others. But the good thing is, with technology today, you can learn these things in a matter of days. It just enriches your work and then makes it more impactful and effective. So thank you, Amaka, for bringing that out. Now we're back to our last category. We reviewed the top 5. Now let's review our top 3. In top place, we have James Ojo of the Cable with the entry time. Congratulations, James. Next, we have Ibrahim Adeyemi with the entry titled Ondo Oshun Ekiti, inside kidnappers' dens where victims are camped, ransoms are negotiated. Congratulations, Ibrahim. And the winner is Kunle Adebajo of Human Gold Media with the entry titled Banking Made Easy, but not for people with disabilities in West Africa. Congratulations. I think on the third place is Taiwo Adebulu, right? Maybe I got that wrong when I was saying it. So congratulations to our top 3 winners. Like we said everyone is a winner, but we just have to identify the top entries. And the other people who came in 4th and 5th places that haven't been recognized as top 3 will now automatically qualify for our consolation prizes. So we'll be reaching out to all of you for your prize monies. And I think also we have certificates just for you to have something to look into and remember this day and the excellent work that you have done. So I think with these, my job is done. I can now pass it on to the host.
Well, congratulations once again to all of you, all our winners. I'm just so glad that, I've seen quite a couple of very new faces and of course some very familiar ones as well. So congratulations to you all. We will be calling you later, and as Taiwo has said, to let you know how you collect your wins. But before we, conclude the day, we have our corporate responsibility leader, Obioma Uba. She's right here and she will give us her closing remarks. And thank you very much. Obioma, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Delia. A big congratulations to all our winners. And I just want to say a big thank you, big thank you to all the judges, Ms. Amaka Anku, Mr. Cyril Stobra. Taiwo, you're not the only one who has heard of Cyril Stobra for years and years, So for those of us that were born before a certain time, let me not say when, so that I won't give out my age, but but certainly he's a household name, really. And then, of course, my colleagues Taiwo, Oyedele, and Andrew Nevin, who do this every year. I know it's not easy, the time it takes to read these articles. So listening to Mr. Cyril, so he talked about having read some of the articles for 4 or 5 times. Like, can you imagine how many hours that you guys put into this thing? And it also goes to say the quality of the entries, really. Because if you are having to read something 4 or 5 times, that means the entries were really, really great. And so for those who didn't win, what it just means is it's just a little thing, perhaps that sets you apart from those who won the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd places. So I'm sure that next year you will find that little thing, and then probably you'll be one of those that will be winning, the big prizes. So of course we look forward to it being a bigger amount. We hope the economy improves to support that. So thank you, everyone, ladies and gentlemen of the press. You've worked very hard. This is the crowns the it's closing of the whole week. And thank you, everyone. We hope to do this again next year and see all of you winning. So thank you. Have an enjoyable evening, and bye for now.
Yeah, thank you very much, Obioma. Just a very quick correction. So the top place for business and economy, so I was actually right with the name I called. I just looked at the master file now. It's actually James Ojo. So apologies for the name that was on the slide. I will make that correction. I just thought to say that quickly before we finish.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you, judges. Thank you, PwC partners. We're very grateful. And thank you, everyone, for joining us this year. We look forward to certainly another, good time again next year. And have a very good evening. The session is ended now, and God bless. Thank you. Well done, everybody.